Here is the clock, the Trumpton clock, telling the time steadily, sensibly, never too quickly, never too slowly, telling the time for Trumpton.
The villagers of Trumpton are very excited. They've just elected a new mayor. Everybody is talking about it. His name is Donald, and here he is on the balcony of Trumpton Tower. Donald is very popular with all the ordinary, hard-working people of Trumpton, who are all kept under strict surveillance by undercover agents like Miss Lovelace. Here she comes now, with her undercover Rottweilers, Goebbels, Goering and Hitler. Here's Mr. Clamp, the greengrocer. "Hello, Mr. Clamp," says Miss Lovelace. "My, you've got some lovely produce in today. Is it all locally grown?" "Those avocados look suspiciously Mexican to me." "Not at all, dear lady," says Mr. Clamp. "All local." "And those grapefruit and bananas," says Miss Lovelace. "All homegrown," assures Mr. Clamp. "Global warming, you know. It's terribly good for business." "Homegrown my arse," thinks Miss Lovelace.
Cabbages, carrots and tender spring greens, broccoli, Brussels tops, fresh runner beans, peaches and plums and pears by the pound, parsnips and beetroot straight from the ground, apples and oranges, strawberries too, mushrooms gathered in this morning's dew, radishes, lettuces, onions, shallots, tomatoes, potatoes and lots of spinach. Come buy my vegetables, fruit ripe and beautiful, fine, fresh and fancy, come buy them from me. Come buy them from me. Thank you, Miss Lovelace.
Oh, look, here's Mr. Lodge, the local Freemason, and Mr. Davidson from the Trumpton Hells Angels. "Good morning, gentlemen," says Mr. Clamp, well, a little nervously. "Picked up anything for us today, Clamp?" asked Mr. Lodge. No, stammers Mr. Clamp. "Are you sure?" asked Mr. Davidson. "Nice fruit there. You wouldn't want anything to happen to those bananas now, would you?" "And how's that pretty little girlfriend of yours, Miss Hillary?" asked Mr. Lodge. Fine," says Mr. Clamp. "It's her birthday. She's at home having her picture painted by a travelling artist." "A travelling artist?" says Mr. Lodge. "That sounds suspicious. I'm going over there to have a look. I'll take Johnson with me." "Good idea," says Mr. Davidson. "Ha! Artist indeed," says Mr. Lodge to Mr. Johnson in their jeep. "Sounds more like an illegal immigrant to me, Boris." "Hello there, Miss Hillary," says Mr. Lodge. "We hear you're harbouring an illegal immigrant." "Not at all," says Miss Clinton. "He's just a travelling artist. Look, there he is." The man was busy at his easel, painting away. "Now then, Sonny Jim," says Mr. Lodge, "have you got a permit to paint there?" "But who are you, if I might ask?" says the artist. You see, I'm just a homeless man, travelling around the country painting nice pictures for anyone who wants them, and singing as I go. I mean no harm, I promise.
I wander through the countryside with easel, brushes, paints and stool, and settle in a leafy glade by willow tree and shady pool.
Shut the fuck up, says Mr. Lodge. But I'm just trying to earn a living from my art. You can stick your art up your arse, says Mr. Johnson. Artists are communists. Show me your papers. But my papers are all at home, said the man. I thought you said you were homeless, shouted Mr. Lodge. And what's that accent? Sounds like Arab to me. I'm a Syrian refugee, replies the artist. I'm waiting for my visa. It should be through any day now. You can tell that to the investigators, says Mr. Lodge. Stay right here. We'll be back. Better let Mayor Donald know, Boris. Fucking right, says Mr. Johnson. You keep an eye on him now, Miss Clinton. For your own good. Meanwhile, back in Trumpton, Mr. Clamp the greengrocer is being closely watched by Mr. Davidson. And the flower seller is recording everything on a CCTV camera hidden amongst the gladioli. Look, here comes the mayor's chauffeur, Mr. Ford. And here comes Mayor Donald. My, doesn't he look handsome in his new open-top BMW? Mr. Davidson has ordered poor Mr. Clamp to accompany him to Trumpton Tower to see Donald's assistant, Mr. Pence. Hello, Harley, says Mr. Pence. What's Clamp been up to now? Looks as though that little bitch of his is fooling around with an illegal mic. OK, Harley, says Mr. Pence. Haul him in. Yes, boss, says Mr. Davidson. Come on, Clamp. Mr. Lodge and Mr. Johnson join them back at Mr. Clamp's shop. So what's the score, Lodge? Asked Mr. Davidson. Arab guy. Looks like a terrorist, says Mr. Lodge. Don't you think so, Boris? Absolutely, says Mr. Johnson. Commie, too, like all those artists. The boss said to bring him in, says Mr. Davidson. OK, says Mr. Lodge. They all agree that it's time they called Miss Clinton. Hello, honey pie, answers Miss Clinton. Cut out the honey pie, bitch, says Mr. Lodge. That Arab commie artist had better still be there. I'm not sure, says Miss Clinton. I'll go and look. Be quick about it, says Mr. Lodge, in a not terribly friendly way at all. Miss Clinton goes out of her little house and looks all around, but the artist seems to have pissed off. And who can blame him? She goes back in to report the fact to Mr. Lodge. I'm afraid there's no sign of him, Mr. Lodge, she says. He's done a runner, says Mr. Lodge, slamming down the receiver. Fuck, say the others. Now what? Nothing for it, says Mr. Johnson. Better get the boys out. We have to get them on the case. Good idea, Boris, says Mr. Lodge. Call them up right away. They're going to phone the Turds, the Trumpton Intervention and Rapid Disappearance Squad. Captain Bannon answers the call. Hi, Steve, says Mr. Lodge. Got a commie artist Arab terrorist on the run. Bring him in alive. We've got some questions for him. With pleasure, says Captain Bannon. I'll get the electrodes ready. He rings the brigade bell, and here they come.
Pew, pew, Barney McGrew, Cuthbert, Dibble, Grub.
The turds search all over Trumpton. But try as they might, they just can't seem to find the little bastard anywhere. Captain Bannon finally phones the others with the bad news. "Hello, Captain Bannon," says Mr. Clamp. "Oh dear. Oh dear, dear. Yes, of course. I'll let them all know." "Oh shit," they say, when Mr. Clamp passes on the news. "Hey boys," says Mr. Johnson, going out into the square. "Look what I just found." And there he was. The poor artist had been tricked by Miss Lovelace, who said that if he did a lovely picture of Trumpton Tower, Mayor Donald would put in a good word and he'd be allowed to stay in the country. And you know what? He believed her. Everybody cheered when they heard a terrorist had been captured. Before the dreadful man was taken in for some friendly questioning, the villagers asked the turds to present Mayor Donald with the artist's picture of Trumpton Tower.
Elevate.
Mayor Donald and Secretary Pence thanked them very much and promised them that a few good sessions of waterboarding would soon wring some information out of the man. How they all laughed and clapped at the good news. Trumpton had been saved once again by Mayor Donald and his brave men. It was time for some celebration. And our poor artist? Well, Miss Lovelace and her Rottweilers kept a good eye on him while he was forced to paint a few free pictures. And when the party was over, you know what? He was never seen again. But that's Trumpton for you.